What's your relationship like with the UFC?
You know, it's been times where, me and the UFC been at each other's throats. There's been times where we've been great. But every time when you come with a deal that makes sense for me and it's mutually beneficial, I'm going to hop on it. You got to play that balance.
So you walk around at about 200 and then
Yeah.
you're cut to what,
170.
170. How does that go and how does that affect you and your mood and your energy?
The winter month has always been tough my entire career. When I was younger, I weighed lighter, and then I started to get bigger, started to lift. When I first started, it was just to the point where people had two different disciplines. Prior to me, it was the specialist, right?
Right.
It was like the Koshek that can punch and can wrestle.
Yeah.
The GSP who had great time and good jiu-jitsu, good karate, but also, can mix it all together. So I was forced to pack on a little bit of size just because for me to explode the way that I do in fights for 25 minutes straight, I got to be able to draw from those reserves. And then my body really argues with me. It doesn't want to be a welterweight. It doesn't want to stay down there. I find a way to compare the struggle that I'm going through making weight with a struggle in life or a struggle in a fight. And as long as I keep getting through that struggle as I'm cutting weight, I keep my body moving, whether it wants to go or not.
And as you've gotten older and your kids get older and you spend time away from them, does it get harder and harder to leave them?
It gets harder and harder to leave them, but I got to stay focused on the goal. My goal is to, in the next 3 or 4 years, be able to just travel anywhere my son goes to college. So he's a sophomore now. So I got this year, next year, and the year after really to get my shit together. Where now I can freely go and watch him play football, watch him wrestle. And that's been like almost my retirement goal.
Do you have a target when you want to get back into the octagon? Or
I just want to fight in 2019. I feel like, the way that I defended the belt and the way that I fought the #1 contenders and the way I took out Robbie Lawler, who was at that time 2 years back-to-back fighter of the year. My coaching staff is gorillas. They just really are just nerds when it comes down to this MMA stuff, and they have no ego. So when you got guys that all want you to win, you want to win too, because you got to want it as well. And then they have a crazy mind, and then you guys all do this. Nobody has ego. I felt for a certain part of time, man, I was like, we never gonna lose again, man. I felt we were invincible.
Is there somebody that's on like your bucket list that you want to fight that it may or may not happen, but there's somebody you really want to compete against?
It used to be, but not anymore. I really just kind of shifted my focus because at the end of the day, what's in my plan and what's in my future and what's on my path is my path. I think my legacy, my greatness is going to be after I'm done. When people can go back and see what I did and how I did it and how I promoted myself, the way I broke my opponents down, the way that I made Wonder Boy not look so wondrous, the way that I stopped Damian Maia from taking me down, the way that I outbrawled Robbie Lawler or I beat up on Carlos Condit, which people say that nobody can outstrike Carlos Condit. I went up against everything that everybody said, and I'm supposed to be the wrestler.
Are you underrated?
I'm not underrated, but I'm not in it for the fame. I'm in it for the glory. I'm in it for the legacy. Like, Muhammad Ali didn't get his praise until it was over with. He didn't get all that praise at the time. People couldn't stand Muhammad Ali. They watched him to watch him lose. He was an arrogant African-American fighter in a very sensitive time of this country. He stood up for what he believed in. A lot of people didn't agree with it, and he used his influence to lift up, what he believed in. And I think I'm not comparing myself to Muhammad Ali, but I looked at what he did, and I would more so want to be remembered for being someone that stood up for what they believe than somebody that sold himself to the industry.